Holy breaking news! This is Flight Check Season 5, Episode 11. We're back once again, and for once, doing a show in time for some recent breaking news that happened just today. And we'll be talking
oh my gosh,
all aspects of that and FlyQuest. Folks, we finally did it. We're able to react to breaking news that came out today, Monday, April 7th, the year of our Lord 2025. And Gakgos is the newest member of FlyQuest. Getting ahead of myself, of course. My name, as always, is Sandy Toes, and to my left, and my extra left, my fellow host, Noxwar, and Curly Double Q. Fellas, week 1 of LTA is in the books. We had some surprise news dropping today. First reported by Sheep Esports and Arsh, who wrote that article. We will be covering that news. FlyQuest also not denying it, but actually admitting it. Papa Smithy going on Hotline League in a couple hours. I'm sure to discuss the breaking news. And anybody, who wants to tell him why a 6-man roster won't work, this is your opportunity. You can get over there, twitch.tv/Travis Gafford. First of all, week 1 of LTA, it's behind us. Split 2 has started. Some expected wins in certain categories. Some unexpected wins in other categories. But we're going to turn to a classic segment of ours. We're going to turn to one big thing. And I'm going to ask both myself and my friends here on the show for their one big thing that they saw from this past weekend that really stood out to them from LTA. And Curly, I'm going to turn to you first. What was the one big thing in LTA that stuck out to you this past weekend?
the meta shift is crazy. Like the champions that we saw this weekend are ones that I don't really recall seeing much overall this entire season, especially like even coming from us, the Vlad top, the Yorick coming out, Rise coming back into the meta. I guess I didn't see that happening, and then busting out the Jin Zhao. So it's just like, all right, we're kind of in that mid-season switch up as we hit the split too. So I feel like games are going to be already spicier for a best of one based on that because it's already refreshing. But then now once we get into the best of threes, it's only going to be even more interesting.
100%. No, I think that's a really fair take. Nox, how about you? What is your one big thing?
You know what? I feel like mine has to be a shout out to Scary Jerry. He's no longer scared Jerry. He's actually kind of scary now. I thought he actually put up a semi-decent performance this weekend. And comparing that to Split 1, where I thought he just should not have been on stage, period. Probably should have been someone else. I was pretty happy with how he performed. He actually looked like a decent, competent AD carry for DSG, and he actually made it a little bit hard for FlyQuest. So I actually kind of have my eyes on him a little bit going forward in the following weeks because, yeah. I mean, DSG, granted, the first matchup was probably very much one of their easiest matchups they could have had, but against FlyQuest, I thought they did a really, really good job. So I think that's kind of my one big thing is keep an eye out for Scary Jerry and see whether he can actually keep up that level of performance.
Mm-hmm. Nice. No, I think that's a good one. Mine is going to be, as kind of called it, I'm cashing in my check here, Lion Gaming.
Oh boy.
With the 2-0. Tied for first after week 1.
And Saint with the player of the weekend.
Yeah. Beating Disguised and Dignitas. Now, notably, 2 teams that are now at the bottom of the standings. But, I mean, this was exactly what I was looking for from this team. The first win, the Disguised win, was certainly a better win, I would say, than the Dignitas win. I was happier with the disguised win than I was the Dignitas win, but still, those are the teams that you have to beat if you're going to be making a push for top 4. And this team looked way better than they did in Split 1. A lot more cohesive. Saint looked good. Kine looked good. I think there's a lot of... Hina looked good. There was a reason why I stashed 2 of these players on my LTA fantasy team. I had both Adilan and Hina on my team, and I'm very glad that I went that route.
Actually, how are we doing on that real quick? Just a quick round out.
Well, all right. I mean, let's pull it up right now. Speaking of LTA fantasy,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm 5th in the flight check league.
yeah. If we look at the flight check league,
you're number 2, Sandy.
I am number 2.
What?
I'm
You were less than a point off actually from taking first.
Less than a point off of first. Nox, you're sitting at a comfortable 90. Nox, you went with round 1 Thanatos Contracts, Quid Masu Lions. Thanatos, I also went with him. He proved to be...
honestly, he was the one that killed me. I would have been fine if I'd gone someone else.
Yeah, I think most other players I could have gone with, and things would have worked out. Curly, for you, 5th place with 77 points. Bwippo really
got a very...
for you. Honestly,
he did.
I felt that you actually had a strong team. Bwippo, MT, Romer, Tomo. I think what sunk you was the support pick in Redbird.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just ran out of funds.
Yeah,
that is what happened there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I couldn't even build the original team I wanted because I was trying to build off of Bwippo, Jose Dioto, and that just like would have been so hard to run with.
Really been strapped for cash. I thought some of the values given to the players were interesting. Certain players.
I thought Masu was a steal at 12. Man. That was crazy.
I thought Thanatos was going to be a steal at.
Same. That's why I took him too.
But like Hina and Adilan, I mean, I think understandably were way undervalued, and those guys were absolutely great. Quad was huge for me as well. But this is fun. I like this a lot. This is reminiscent of what they really did was they took a kind of like a daily fantasy system. It's kind of like best ball in a way where you pick different players every week, right? So like I can go into the market next week, right, and I could swap out my players as long as it's still under that like 50 gold, which I'm sure will be adjusted as time goes on. I think this is a really fun way to do fantasy, and I think actually way more interactive and hype for me than previous iterations of fantasy have been. So I'm loving this. I'm really excited to keep doing it. I hope they keep this around for a long time because I think it really, really works.
I like this a lot too. I do, however, still want a more traditional fantasy setup as well in addition to this. But honestly, this is great. I completely agree with you. I like this a lot.
I think what I like about this is that it's very accessible for people. Like, you don't have to be... Like, I'm in a couple different leagues, right? But just by signing up, you get automatically entered into 3 different leagues. So you pick your favorite team. Mm-hmm. And then so I got entered into the FlyQuest League, the LTA North League, and the Americas League. And I guess I could probably... I mean, I can create my own league as well, right? We have a Flight Check League. We'll put the link in the... The link is in our fantasy
I can drop the link in our... I can drop it in
Twitch chat real quick right now if you want to join the Flight Check Fantasy League. But I think it's very accessible. You're automatically entered into these 3 leagues. Plus, you can do leagues with friends. And I think it's a great way of having both like a broader, big competition and smaller, try to beat your friends, talk some trash, that kind of thing. So I think it's really worked out. Let's move into week 1 recap. So we took down Team Liquid, and we took down Disguised. This is a legitimate question. that I want to ask you guys. Which game do you guys think was closer?
Disguised.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
I would go disguised.
Yeah,
Honestly,
the disguised game was closer.
100%.
Which is so funny to me. Curly, I actually think you and I deserve some props here for calling the bounce back win against Team Liquid. We did
Never had any doubt.
Yeah, never doubted that one. So yeah, beating TL, and then beating Disguise the next day.
So
Yeah,
real quick, I would like to defend myself here a little bit. I did state that it depended on if Spawn was on stage. I said if Spawn was not on stage, FlyQuest would win.
He was not on
Guess
stage.
who was not on? Spawn was not on stage.
Swiffer
So
and
if
Rayover.
anything, I'm just saying, like, ignore what my pick'ems were because I still didn't know who it was going to be. But I thought Spawn was going to be there. But in the actual vibes check, we're 100% on this. Okay.
Yeah, we'll
I
let
want
you
it
have
on
that.
record. I want it on
We'll
record.
have-
That's all.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you getting that on record. Yes.
Planned right, picked wrong.
Some really interesting comps and stuff brought out, inspired on the Zinzao 2 days in a row. Busio with some heavy engaged champs in the Nico and the Rel. Quad did a lot of work on the Talia, also on the Rise. Masu had a bit of a quieter week for me. He didn't really stand out a ton. But then I think the player that, like, obviously, and we're going to talk more because, you know, his counterpart is due to arrive in Split 3. But Bwipo, with the Vlad and the Yorick this week, alas, poor Yorick, you know, he took down a castle. I knew him well, Horatio. It's a little Shakespeare for you Anglophiles out there.
What a deep cut.
That is a deep
Wow.
cut. Do you know? So everybody gets the quote wrong. Everyone's like, "Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well." That's not actually the quote. It's "Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well, Horatio." Like the guy's addressing it to Horatio. Whatever. Anyway, so Whippo with the Vlad and the Yorick this past weekend. The Yorick was hilarious. I thought that was such a funny pick, and it did so many hilarious things. The little ghouls or whatever they are running down castle multiple times.
I got traumatized watching that. Are you kidding me?
That
That
was-
was like my top lane experience when I was playing top. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated watching it. Like, I'm glad he was on our side.
Yeah, no, me too, for sure. Takes on the champs, on the comps, on the performance from week 1 from either of you guys. Fire off.
At least I just wanted to comment on Masu really fast.
Yeah.
In regards to him having a quieter week, the first comp that he's kind of playing into is extremely rough. You have Gwen, Callista paired with a support, which kind of helps with the dive. Jarvan and Ahri. That's like really, really hard for him to deal with as an immobile AD carry.
Yeah.
So, and actually, I kind of want y'all's thoughts on this, but do you think there should have been a little bit more effort to maybe like help Masu out? Or did Fly do the correct play of like, hey, just it is what it is. Sorry, buddy, you're going to get dived, and then let Bwipo and Inspire just do their thing along with Quad?
I did not mind
I mean, I think-
that
Yeah.
very much. But go ahead.
I think it kind of paid off overall. Especially, I feel like right now what they're trying to do is maybe just play through that top side, get Bwipo the solo lane advantages.
Yeah.
I say top side. He's been bottom for the first portion of both matches this weekend, but the solo lane, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
I
did
don't
not
know.
mind it that much, really.
I guess overall, I'm not too concerned with Masu because I think the first draft is just not really playable for him as a first pick 80 carry Varus, and then the second draft is like it's a quirky pick, right? You're not really doing anything flashy. You're not doing anything crazy. I will say, admittedly, Scary Jerry did school him off the solo kill. That hands up, you got. You're still my boy though, Masu. Don't worry about it. You'll bounce back. It's not a problem.
There's no concerns.
Yeah, I'm overall fine with how Masu performed this weekend. As for the rest of the team, I thought, I mean, Whippo's being Whippo, man. And then I know it's kind of regular season, it's best of ones, but some of these picks are wildin' and it's fun to watch. But it's kind of I'll be curious to see how much you can get away in best of series.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, there'll certainly be a lot to talk about as we get into the other stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, this was like a good first week back. Obviously, it's best of ones. But still, like, I think the TL win to me was a really good indicator that, like, hey, we're not, going away quietly. We've still got a lot to say. We still have Team Liquid's number. I mean, now this is two best of ones, that we've beaten them in. We beat them in the seeding in Split 1. We beat them here. Like, I think, we were talking last week about Bwipo's comment that, we're, a fourth place, the fourth best team in the league right now. And, I'm just not sure I see it. Like, I think we all of us put, except for Nox,
I took Bwipo at his word.
Yeah.
Usually that man's not humble, so when he's putting himself at like fourth place, I'm like, oh shit,
I mean,
he may be fourth place.
At 3 and Curly had them at 2, but I think like that's a very like respectable position. I think there's obviously still a lot of season left to play. This is 1 week; you can't really completely react off of it. And I think next week will be a slightly more challenging set of games between 100 Thieves and Shopify. We'll get into that later as well. But I just am not really right now. I am not seeing anything that's giving me like major cause for concern. I think the disguised game got a little ridiculous at times, and probably could have been closed out cleaner. There were a couple fights that Disguise took that, and I think this is like credit to them. Ultimately, I felt like they did a lot better than they had been doing. I don't know if they would have won some of those fights in the first split, but I mean, I feel pretty good. How are you guys feeling about just the team in general after this first weekend?
I mean, a 2-0 start is always going to make me very excited for how we're going to do.
Yeah, of course.
So exactly what I want to see there. And then just I always enjoy beating Team Liquid. So we're even more hype. I do think what really has me very comfortable with things is kind of we're seeing the things that fell off towards the end of Split 1 immediately look better, because it was kind of wishy-washy on the top half of our team, especially like Bwipo was kind of just not as in as he's been previously, and Inspired was not quite performing where I wanted him. But this weekend, both of them really stepped up. And then even Quad, who some people were kind of like low on, also had a really great showing for both games. No, so I'm glad to see that in this off season, or like between splits, while we were in Korea, while we were putting in the work, we really kind of were actually able to work on the problems, fix them up.
No, I think that's, yeah, I agree as well. I think that boot camp was definitely super important. Nox, how about you? General impressions after week 1 of where we're at, or where we're going?
I mean, I think in general, we look pretty good. I think there's some macro decisions that we kind of need to shore up a little bit still. And I'm sure that's probably part of the reason why Bwipo was saying that they're a fourth place team right now. But I think the reality is scrims are just a different nature. And then when you get on stage, you tend to lock in a little bit more, and the other teams aren't able to because you're still so good.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably what it ended up being. I kind of want to highlight Inspired for a moment, because I feel like, don't get me wrong, I know he can play Xin Zhao, but that's not really been in his wheelhouse, so to speak, over the past like year and a half or so, I feel like. So to see him whip it out back-to-back days and actually look pretty decent on it, and like get some early ganks off and get some pressure in the lanes, kind of not his normal MO. Like, he still had a good farm lead over both other enemy junglers, which was kind of cool to see at the same time. Just goes to show he's actually performing extremely well right now. But I don't know. It actually kind of gives me a little bit of hope for how FlyQuest can look in the future if they can really shore up some of their macro stuff. because this was just not really what I expected Inspire to do. He's not the kind of guy to like go for these lane pressure ganks and like kind of get the lanes going. He was very much a, hey, I'm going to hit my camps. I'm going to hit these timers on the major objectives, and I'll make sure all your waves are shoved in at a good time so that way you can get decent back timers so that way you can like control your lanes. But he was never a guy that what really was like gank heavy. And I felt like this weekend he was like not gank heavy, so to speak, but he was actually putting pressure on the lanes and getting ganks off, which was nice to see. So if we can really make it like an effort to have Inspired be able to flip between the two gameplay styles, depending on who they're playing for the week, I think that bodes extremely well for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we're in a really good position, and hopefully, we can get ourselves in a good spot with the positioning phase as well, and get ourselves into that first place seeding match. That would be ultimately the best.
Which I was going to say really fast. I don't know if anyone's like looked at Leaguepedia or not, but for those of you who don't know, the way the seeding is going to work for that is it'll be first, fourth, fifth, and eighth in Group A, and it'll be second, third, sixth, and seventh in Group B.
Got it.
What an interesting spread.
It's all over the place, truly. All right, so let's turn our attention to the breaking news of the day. Finally, we get the opportunity to comment on breaking news that happened today.
Woo!
Turkish top laner, currently playing for LFL Division 2 team PCS, or Project Conquerors, sorry, is joining FlyQuest today, and will be playing, I guess, starting in Split 3, based off of what we have seen, what the news is saying. So Bwipo will be closing out the rest of Split 2, and then FlyQuest will be moving to a 6-man roster starting in Split 3, which, if you all recall, is when we have that crazy scheduling system that I still can't ultimately comprehend.
Yeah, we're going to have to study up on that one.
We are going to have to study up on that one. So he's relatively unknown. He's played for a year. He started playing last year in EMEA. Yeah, he's been on some like lower tier teams, and now here he is joining FlyQuest. Nox, sounds like you've got some info. What can you tell us about Gakgos?
I just wanted to get this out of the way for everyone who was first learning about this news. So one second. Hello. All right. Now that I got that out of the way, my general thoughts on this is I have no clue about this guy. The general research that I've seen, he has kind of more like heavier carry picks in the top lane. So Olaf and especially Irelia is what I was seeing. Whereas like Bwipo, while he can play those, is not like, that's not his wheelhouse. It's not what he typically does. Like I'm sure Bwipo can play anything, right? But I mean, now that we're going into best of series, now is more than plenty of time to be able to like swap players in and out. It's actually like when it's actually feasible instead of these best of ones and you're kind of playing week to week and so on and so forth. Actually, like you can kind of get away with it. I still don't think it's great in my opinion, but you can. So I guess for the time being, if you really want to like try and go into a series and say, hey, we want to try and do like a more carry oriented top laner style, by all means, I guess. I think the other thing you have to keep in mind is I really don't see Bwipo out. I gotta phrase this carefully. I do not see Bwipo playing top lane for FlyQuest next year.
Whoa!
Is how I will put it.
Oh wow!
Is this are you putting this down as a prediction?
You know what? F it. Yes, I'm gonna put it as a prediction that Bwipo will not be a top lane player for FlyQuest next year.
This is very
and
specific.
And the reason why I'm phrasing it like that is because you already had Andrew Barton, who's looking at acquiring JoJo for the top lane for us, this past year, and obviously that didn't work out. He ended up going to Europe. And now you have this move where it's like, once again, it's prepping the new guy, and we're going to be splitting time. And I really feel like it's just they're trying to see if they can convince Blippo to just be a coach. That's the major vibe I've been getting the whole time. Now, I think the question becomes, though, I feel like Blippo still obviously is more than comfortable enough in his gameplay and like can still handle himself against most top laners in the world. So the question becomes, does he still want to play for FlyQuest? Or is he going to be like, no, I want to go play for someone else? Or is he going to be like, yeah, you know what, I'm down to coach? Because I mean, you can even see his tweets, right? You look at his tweets and he's like, I can coach anyone in the world, and I can guarantee you I can get him and that person and their team to Worlds within 1 year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like he's that confident.
That's a very strong statement to be making.
So with that, I mean, if he's like, I have to imagine he's very adamantly thinking about coaching in some way, shape, or form. So with all that like combined, that's why it really makes me feel like even if he's not going to coach next year, I feel like FlyQuest wants to really focus on bringing up a new top laner anyway. So because I mean they've been angling it from different angles like all year long at this point. So that's kind of my prediction.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Are you willing to predict that it's going to be Gakgos playing top lane for FlyQuest next year?
I would say unless he plays absolutely horribly in scrims and just looks like he has no promise whatsoever, he can't adapt to LA ecosystem, whatever it may be. I would say yes, absolutely. There's no reason for him not to be the new starting top laner for FlyQuest in 2026.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you look at the article, it's a 3-year contract. This is an investment. Whatever they saw when they were scouting this guy is something that they really think they can develop. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say, with what Nox is saying, that they're going to field him as the main top laner next year in place of Blippo, or you haven't explicitly said that, but that would be the implication. But with Blippo taking a step to coaching, it's something that's just kind of been developing kind of over the last half a year anyway. He's a very analytical person, and not only in some of his like tweets and some of his streaming, but even some of the content that he's been featured in, particularly that one thing during the LTA playoffs where he was talking to, I forget which LTA Seoul team it was, but just where he wants to spread this knowledge that he has of the game. And I think that coaching is on the horizon for him. And so kind of what I see happening here is maybe it could be as quick as next season, but somehow, some way, unless he really, really wants to compete, I think he's going to switch that focus. Hopefully, I would love to see him stick on FlyQuest, but at the same time, I feel like he could benefit any team in just about any league. The other thing, too, is I find it interesting how this kind of parallels the way that Blippo himself entered the league on a 6-man roster for Fnatic under Soaz. And that, like, there will be a time where if this works out right, he's just going to, he's going to be the one taking the step back, and Gakgos is going to be the new guy. And if he's able to kind of give him the same energy that he had coming into Fnatic way back when, this kid might have a really good career ahead of him.
So just some additional information, by the way. In a certain Pink Potion Discord, Papa Smithy mentioned the fact that they had started signing him, or the process of signing him, over 6 weeks ago.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? I got distracted by Pink Potion because all I could start thinking of was Pink Potion Club.
You know what? Fair, understandable.
Real.
But Papa Smithy basically mentioned that FlyQuest has started the process of signing him over 6 weeks ago. So this has been in the works since about beginning of March or late February.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, and then another thing is the signing happened now because they need to take this time to make sure the visa stuff gets in place for summer, which is why we're finding out about it so early and before a Flight Check episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think my take on this whole thing is that it seems like the team was kind of shaken by Fearless. And that is the read that I am getting here. That they realized they needed some more ammo if they wanted to really push forward.
Which for me is
like,
weird.
am I off on this feeling? Like,
no, you're actually right. I think Whippo, like, he doesn't directly admit to it, but he kind of refers to it in the pros episode this morning that came out.
Yeah, I just feel like the team is I mean, a couple things happened. One, we saw at First Stand Flying Oysters pull off the 6-man roster and succeed. 6-man rosters have traditionally been unsuccessful, and or it's just a 5-man roster with one guy who's there as moral support, which I guess is what Gakgos is going to be for the next like couple months, right? And so I really want to get the actual pronunciation because I there's no way it's Gakgos. It's got to be like Gakgos or something like that, right? I'm gonna need somebody to give me the official pronunciation.
This is like gonna be an Abadaga moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Abaduge?
Abidagi.
Abadage.
Adabajuge?
Benedict Cumberbump.
All right.
Sandy with the zingers tonight.
Yeah, you know. It's what I'm here for. I'm here to host and drop zingers. And I'm all out of hosting. So yeah, I think like I'm worried that you're grabbing a player who has 1 year of competitive experience in very low EMEA divisions. You know, we've seen like, and he's not a player who's been in your system. Like, this is not bringing up Masu, right? A guy who was in the FlyQuest system for a full year already, right? Like, I think that's what the difference is to me. He's relatively unknown. I guess you've been scouting him, obviously, otherwise you would not have pulled him in. But I think I'm just worried that this backfires in some way, and then you're left with no real option for next year, except for, I guess, running it back with Whippo or pivoting elsewhere, or, you know, maybe you can buy Surdy off of Dignitas, or there's some other upcoming top laner in Academy that you can snag. But I hope this works out, because if it doesn't, I think it's going to look really, really bad. And I think people will point to it as something that really did not work out. I am open to it. I hope Gakgos does bring the ability for the team to be like, all right, yep, we're bringing him in, and he plays these 6 champions that Whippo is just not as good on, and that opens up the top lane pool for Fearless way more, which, like, totally, when you're getting deep into a best of 5, yeah, super useful. I can totally see that. And who knows, maybe we'll be looking back in like 6 months and we'll be going, wow, FlyQuest really pioneered the whole 6-man roster strat, guys, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
so,
it would have to go to CFO first.
Yeah, it would, yes, yeah. Pioneered
they would be the true pioneers.
Pioneered it in the Americas. How about?
Yeah, there we go. Y'all are making some Cloud9 fans seethe right now.
Well, look, you know, that's what we're here for.
Although, to be fair, they were running a 7-man roster. Is technically what they
gosh.
were.
See, now I do want.
Oh, you don't have the history on that though, do you, Curly?
I don't think I do.
This was the Swole Bros.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah.
No, that's like what, Golden Glue and oh goodness.
It's Svenskeren.
Svenskeren? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I hope this works. I really do. If it does, I think it gives us some great options in draft, gives the team a lot of flexibility. But if it doesn't work out, I think it could look really, really bad.
Yeah, my hesitation and my only big criticism that I'm going to be looking at is I don't want this to be another Tenacity situation. Because the 6-man roster with Tenacity on it kind of just really, to me, in the long run, really like put a huge dent in his career trajectory. Because he kind of just ended up being on the bench as a, hey, if you don't perform, this rookie's going to take your spot. And it worked. You know, it wasn't an actual 6-man roster in the way that it felt executed. I don't know what things were like behind the scenes, but for optics and the fact that he spent that whole split just not having any gameplay that anyone could really look at, it hurt his ability to find another team. So I'm hoping that like when we get him over here, we are giving him the facilities that he needs. We are giving him the time that he needs. And if it's coming to a place where like eventually it might not work out for us, we're still able to give him the justifiable shot so that other teams can look at him and see the value in him. And he doesn't get his career shot by coming over here because he is only a year into it. And it's a huge step up going from what I think be the equivalent of tier 3 over in EU because it's LFL Division 2 and jumping all the way up here to the LTA. It's a pretty big jump. Now, granted, he was in first place for the regular split and lost by, or had a full stretch of a grand finals for the playoffs in Division 2 in the winter. So, like, he is at the top of his game in his respective league. So, that is the best we can get from there.
I mean, and also as a reminder, he did play in the TCL for one split as well, and I think he made the finals on that split as well, if I remember right.
Let's see, TCL.
Hold on.
The season cup. It was second place in the season cup.
Season cup. Sorry. He did play in the TCL as well for that summer, and they granted they finished 7th, but he has a little experience in division, like in a tier 2 league as well. Oh, yeah, he played for Nasser, okay. And then went 4-10.
Yeah. I think there's plenty of VODs out there. Might have to go do some review of his stuff in order to...
Time to break out the tape.
Yeah, break out the tape. But we'll maybe do that at a later time. All right, final thoughts on Gakgos and the 6-man roster before we move on.
I don't think I have much more to add outside of what I said earlier. I hope it works out. It'll be the first real one to see if it actually succeeds, I think, outside of, like I said, River and Driver, right? Is that what the names were?
Rest and Driver.
Rest.
River
Driver,
is a player on 100 Thieves.
Yes, 100. Guys, my brain...
A little fried.
Not quite there today.
It's got that Monday fry going.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move forward to LTA Week 2 preview. Speaking of 100 Thieves, we're playing them on Saturday, the second game of the day, and then the next day also playing second versus Shopify Rebellion. Will be Red Side versus 100 Thieves and Blue Side versus Shopify. Both teams 1-1. 100 Thieves beating Cloud9 and losing to TL, and Shopify beating Dig and losing to Cloud9. So, my immediate takeaway, I think this is kind of similar to last week's predictions, actually, where I feel like across the board we're going to say it's going to be a fly win over Shopify Rebellion. But then I think the more interesting discussion is going to be 100 Thieves, who, again, beat Cloud9 and then lost to TL this past weekend. Also had a lot of success in LTA Split 1, notably beating us 2-1 in the LTA Split Finals, semifinals, whatever, LTA Playoff semifinals. So this is a team that has recent historical success against us, and this is solely a best of one. So I think this is some interesting discussion. Knox, how are you feeling about 100 Thieves after this first week? Do you think that this should be a FlyQuest win, or are you feeling a little bit more pessimistic about how this one might go?
I think this should be fine for us. 100 Thieves were like. Okay, sorry, I'm just getting my thoughts. I think 100 Thieves has shown that they have very good, like, just continue. Like, this is kind of what I was saying before the split started of, like, the game very much fell into their hands of, like, if we just fight, it's fine. But at the same time, if you continue to fight, you eventually do hit a coin flip where things can just go wrong, right? So that's what we've kind of seen this whole weekend long. Like 100 Thieves was Cloud9, they continue to fight, and a lot of times they're not good enough to handle the fight. What happened with TL versus 100 Thieves, though, is that basically they continue to fight until finally TL was able to flip the one coin. And the moment that TL has the like control, like they can just suffocate you out, right? So I'm not really too worried because I think what's going to happen is 100 Thieves is going to really like suffocate or try to suffocate Fly in the early game. I think Inspired should be more than able to handle it, especially if he's like up to snuff, which he looks like he is. He didn't really look up to snuff in the series down in Brazil. Mm-hmm. So as long as I think Inspired's on it, I don't think 100 Thieves is really going to have the chance to just fight and like find advantages that way. And then from there, I think 100 Thieves macro, even though our macro is not really up to snuff right now, I think 100 Thieves macro is not there at all. So I think it should be able to close out from there. So yeah, I'm going to give this one to Fly.
All right. Yeah, there we go. Curly, how about you? How are you feeling about this matchup?
Oh, we're absolutely clapping them back for what they did to us in Split 1. Are you kidding me? They're going down. No chance.
Yeah, I think I'm going to join the train here. I think it's going to be another 2-0 week for FlyQuest. I think the momentum feels really good right now. The LTA, like the LCS before it, is a very momentum-based league. And I think that FlyQuest has some good momentum right now and will carry it forward. I'm not, the 100 Thieves loss, I don't want to call it a fluke. I am certainly not calling it a fluke, but I think that it was a low probability win for them. Like, on paper, that was, and as was discussed many times after that series, that was a huge upset for them. So yeah, I really do think that this should be a good win for us. It should be another solid 2-0 week. It's once again the kind of thing where I'm a little bit more worried about playing Shopify than I am 100 Thieves, because we're probably going to put you put a lot more focus on the better team. You might not focus so hard on the less good team. I did not watch Shopify's game, so I'm a little behind on that one. But
the first one's a doozy.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Palafox, am I right?
It's the longest game of LTA.
Was that
period.
The 55? Was it a 55?
That's a 53-minute game. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's not looking forward to that VOD review. I'll tell you that much. No, I think it's going to be a good week. I feel confident. I think we're in a really good position. I wonder, actually, if we 2-0, does that, like, clinch anything for us? I guess not. Like,
surely it should get us at least top.
I guess it
should at least get us top 6, probably.
Yeah, I guess there's no clinching for playoffs or anything, because this just, like, determines what group you go into.
This is all just seeding, really. Like, honestly, if we wanted to just go stupid and just like try a bunch of random crap in best of ones for the next 2 weeks, you can do it, and it doesn't matter.
Which is why
you just might have
Vlad and the Yorick, were such a great call. I thought this.
Yeah. Week. That's also kind of the reason why I'm not really putting too much stock into any of these matches. Like, they're fun to watch, and they kind of give you a baseline of what to look for. But I'm not really going to care all that much until the best of threes actually come out.
No, I think that's a great point. Yeah, I agree as well. All right. Well, I think that is pretty much everything that we've got tonight. Any final closing topics from you fellas before we round out the show in a nice tight 50 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, hey, FlyQuest is so back. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, FlyQuest is back. We got a new. Yeah, I think we did a good job of covering everything. We were pretty nice and quick about it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, was there anything interesting in NACL? No, not.
Oh yeah, I was
really.
gonna ask you. Got any NACL updates for us?
No, I mean, Dragon Steel looks good per usual.
Standard, yeah.
I think. Yeah, honestly, my team to actually hit the promotion right now is Dragon Steel, even over near Airport. I'm very curious to see Dragon Steel actually play near Airport, though. I think that should be very, very fun.
Yeah, that could be interesting. All right, well then we'll wrap it up here. Thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of Flight Check. FlyQuest takes on 100 Thieves and Shopify this Saturday and Sunday. Both are the second games of the day, starting around 5 p.m. Eastern, barring any pauses or anything crazy. Be sure to follow us on Twitter in case those pauses do happen so that we can complain about it alongside the rest of you. You can catch the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Knox at Knoxwar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_double_Q_. Do make sure to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place, including those sweet behind-the-scenes photos. We've been kind of lacking on those of late. Might need to get a few more of those in there.
I'll talk to my contacts.
Yeah.
I got you.
If you missed any part of this episode, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. And if you're watching that and want to catch the show live, guess what? You are in luck. We broadcast the episode pretty much every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Knox, any final notes, shoutouts, or plugs before we wrap up?
Shout out to my bed because it sounds real nice right about now.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna leave it at that.
I'm glad for you. Curly, how about you?
I'm going to give a huge shout out to Esports Ohio. This weekend, I spent both days. The university I volunteer coach for was hosting it. And so I officially have my first ever proper esports casting out there for Overwatch Grand Finals.
Wow.
It was an absolute banger on Saturday. So if you ever want to go find that, you can look it up.
You got to link the VOD.
But
you got to link the VOD.
I'll link the VOD somewhere. But it was actually really, really cool seeing what the high school level of esports is overall. Sadly, there was no League of Legends. But that's all right. It was still very awesome to kind of see that, like, hey, the youth still care about this, and hopefully, I'd like to see that develop. So then we are able to get through this winter for esports, and in 5-6 years, come out better for it.
No, I love that. My shout out is going to go to the NCAA National Championship winners, the UConn Huskies, last night. Paige Beckers leading her team to a title, the future #1 pick. I need to see. I was hoping that the Washington Mystics would get that #1 pick, but I don't think they have it this year, which is unfortunate.
Yo, speaking of sports in Washington, shout out to Alexander Ovechkin.
Yes, big shout out to
big shout out to
895 goals, absolutely legendary career. Crazy stuff. Forever,
what a guy.
Forever a Washingtonian, that is for sure. All right. And also, I guess, the men's basketball championship is on right now. I just put it on my second screen. Florida and Houston are tied 4-4. The game just started. Don't worry, Evan.
We're cheering for Houston. If Houston wins, I win literally every single one of my brackets.
I also do really well in certain brackets if Houston wins. I did not pick Florida in any brackets. I'm #1, day one Houston fan. I definitely went there. All right, we will be back next week to talk week 2 of LTA, preview week 3, and who knows, maybe we'll announce a 7th and 8th player on the roster. So for now, stay safe out there, bite your teeth, don't forget to hit the head on the nail, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.